Welcome everybody. I am Rudronil Ghosh. I am a member of Expert Committee on School Education, Department of School Education, Government of West Bengal. In this session, we will be talking about two subjects. One is our environment for class 5 and the next is environment and science for classes 6 to 8. You all are aware that in the backdrop of COVID-19 pandemic, the normal teaching learning process in the schools is severely affected. But even during this pandemic, the School Education Department of Government of West Bengal has taken several alternative steps to ensure that the normal teaching learning process is not hampered. You may have heard about the program called Bangla Shiksha Durobhashe, where the students can get their queries answered by experienced teachers over telephone. Apart from this, several videos of different classes from different subjects have already been uploaded. These videos were prepared by experienced teachers. The students can get help of these videos while learning a particular topic. In connection with this, you may also have heard about model activity tasks. The model activity tasks were being distributed for the past few months with the help of the guardians who come to the school on a pre-selected day to collect the midday meal materials. The guardians return home with the model activity tasks. They hand over the model activity tasks to the students. The students does the model activity tasks in their home, and on the next month when the parents or guardians again come to the school to collect the midday meal materials for the next month, they take along the filled up model activity tasks from the students and hand them over to the teachers. The teachers in their turn evaluates the same, and they not only evaluate the model activity task papers, but by evaluating the model activity task papers, they can understand where the students are lagging. How can they understand? Because these model activity tasks are based on the reduced syllabi ratified by the West Bengal Board of Secondary Education, and moreover, these model activity tasks are based on specific learning outcomes that has already been defined. So, when the teachers can find that the students are lagging in a specific learning outcome, they can take suitable remedial measures as they see fit. Now, let us first talk about our environment for class 5. You all are aware that different elements of history, geography, science, social studies and environment are incorporated in an integrated manner in the Our Environment textbook. Now, how do we frame the model activity tasks for this subject? As I have already mentioned that the model activity tasks are based on the reduced syllabus ratified by the West Bengal Board of Secondary Education, and the model activity tasks are based on specific learning outcomes for each and every chapter which we have already defined earlier. Now, let us take an example. How can we set a question based on a specific learning outcome? There is a learning outcome for class 5, where it states that the learners will be able to discuss different aspects of agricultural practices. Now, what kind of question can we set to check whether the students have really achieved this learning outcome? The question may be like this: what harm is caused by using an excess of insect pesticides? If the students are able to answer it properly, and by using the rubric the teachers can identify that easily, then the teachers will be satisfied, yes, the students have reached the expected learning outcome. But if not, then the teachers will be able to take any remedial action that they seem fit to encourage the student to achieve the specific learning outcome. This is the basic scenario for using model activity tasks. Now, let us talk about the type of questions that we have set in the model activity task. Basically, we have multiple choice questions, short answer type questions, and very short answer type question, and long answer type question. In the very short answer type questions, there may be several kinds. One may be fill in the blanks, the other may be true false, another may be column matching, and lastly answer in a sentence. Each of the questions from MCQs and VSAs, that is very short answer questions, carries 1 mark. Now, coming to the short answer type question. The short answer type questions requires the student to answer it within 1 to 2 sentences, and it carries 2 marks. Each of these short answer type question carries 2 marks. Now, coming to the last type of question, that is long answer type question. Here the student is required to answer it within 2 to 3 sentences, and it carries 3 marks. That is, each of the long answer type question carries 3 marks. Now, for the past few months, the students are preparing their answers for the model activity tasks. The teachers are evaluating the same, and they are taking necessary remedial action so that the learning outcomes are achieved by the student. Now is the time to find out whether they have really achieved the learning outcomes that has already been defined, or how far they have achieved the specific learning outcomes. For that reason, what we have done is this: we have selected questions from the model activity tasks that were distributed earlier and prepared a question paper. The full marks of this question paper for class 5 will be 40 marks, and that question paper will carry or will compose of or will consist of all the type of questions that I have discussed a few minutes back. The learners will answer this question paper, the teachers will evaluate this, and thus they will get to know, or they will be able to identify whether the students have really achieved the expected learning outcomes. Now, coming to the next part, that is environment and science for classes 6 to 8. You all are aware that the textbooks of environment and science is an integrated textbook. It has different topics from physics, chemistry, biology and environment. And while discussing a topic of physics, if there is a scope, then a related topic from biology is also discussed. The similar thing has happened when discussing a topic of chemistry, when there is a scope to discuss a topic from biology. And lastly, when we are discussing a topic of biology, if there is a scope to discuss some other related topics, say from chemistry, it has been done. Now, let us take some examples. When discussing the topic of light from physics, a reference has been made in that section to the dependence of flowering on sunlight, to the dependence of different behavioral changes in the animals, that means the behavioral changes that are related to sunlight. Now, again when discussing the topic of electricity, a mention has been made of electric eelfish which generates electrical pulses to deter their enemies. Again, while discussing magnets, the Earth's magnetic field has been discussed and the effect of the Earth's magnetic field on the animal migration has been discussed. Now, while discussing acid base reactions and the basic concepts of acids and bases, a section is there about the acid base balance mechanism in the humans and what happens when this balance is disrupted. Again, in biology, where food and food production is discussed, there is a topic where it was discussed that the inorganic fertilizers are to be used judiciously by judging the type of the soil where they are being used, because the balance between the acidity and alkalinity of the soil is very important for the crop to grow. Suppose if we use an excess of ammonium sulphate, the soil may turn acidic, or if we use sodium nitrate in excess, the soil may turn alkaline. So, this eventually may harm the crop production. So, let us now see how we have incorporated all these things that we have discussed in the textbooks of environment and science in the model activity tasks. As I have discussed for class 5, the same is applicable here, that is the model activity tasks questions were based on the reduced syllabus that is ratified by the West Bengal Board of Secondary Education. And these model activity tasks are based on specific learning outcomes that have already been defined for each and every subject for the classes 6, 7 and 8. Now, let us take an example how we can set a question to find out whether the students have achieved a specific learning outcome. Let us take an example from class 6. Here we can find that there is a learning outcome which states that the learners will be able to demonstrate the dependence of liquid pressure on the depth of liquid. Now, what kind of question can we set to check whether the learners have achieved this learning outcome? The question may be like this: how does the pressure change as one goes deeper in water? So, if the student is able to answer this question correctly, then the teacher will understand, yes, this student has achieved that specific learning outcome, or if he or she is not able to write the answer correctly, then with the help of rubrics, the teacher will be able to find out where he is lagging, and then the teacher can take necessary action. Now, let us take another example from class 8. The learning outcome here is the learners will be able to explain different methods of apiculture, fish culture and rearing of fowls. Now, the question that can be set to check whether this learning outcome has been achieved by the learners may be like this. How are spawns of fishes produced artificially? So, again the same thing, if the learners are able to answer it correctly, the teachers will be able to understand that this specific learning outcome has been successfully achieved by the learners. Now, with this you can get an idea how the specific questions can be set based on specific learning outcomes. You can also set different kinds of questions based on these learning outcomes. Now, let us discuss what are the different types of questions that we have given in the model activity task for classes 6, 7 and 8. Now, the type of questions that we have given in the model activity task for classes 6, 7 and 8 are like this: multiple choice questions which carries 1 mark, that is each multiple choice question carries 1 mark. Apart from this, there are very short answer type questions. Very short answer type questions can be of several types, like fill in the blanks, true false, answer in a sentence, etc. And each of these very short answer type question carries 1 mark. Now, coming to the next type of question that we have given is short answer type question. The students are required to answer this question in 1 to 2 sentences, and each of these question carries 2 marks. Next comes the long answer type question. This long answer type question carries 3 marks, that is each of the long answer type question carries 3 marks, and the students are required to answer it in 3 to 4 sentences. So, this is all about the type of questions. Now, for the past few months, the students are answering the model activity tasks and the teachers are evaluating the same and checking whether they have achieved the learning outcomes or whether they have any obstacles in achieving that learning outcome, and they are giving the students necessary remedial lessons or measures so that they can achieve the same. Now is the time to find out or to check whether the students have really achieved the learning outcomes that have already been defined for each and every class, for each and every subject. That is, for our instance, it is class 6, 7, 8 and environment and science. So, for this reason, what we have done is this: we have prepared a question paper by selecting questions from the previously distributed model activity tasks and compiled it in a single question paper. For classes 6, 7 and 8, this question paper carries a total of 50 marks. That means that full marks for this question paper will be 50 marks, and this question paper will carry all the types of questions that I have discussed a few minutes back. Now, the students will answer this question paper and the teachers will evaluate the same, and then they will get to know or identify whether the students have achieved the specific learning outcomes that have already been defined for classes 6, 7, 8 for the subject of environment and science. Now, in this endeavor, we would like to request you to extend your full cooperation to make this plan a success. We hope that this model activity tasks will prove to be a success in furthering the learning process of the learners amidst this COVID pandemic. Thank you.